Hello, I'm Assemblymember Luis Alejo, and I'm running for re-election to represent the new 30th Assembly District, and that covers 4 different counties here in California: Santa Cruz, Santa Clara, San Benito, and most of Monterey County. I am very proud to represent some of the richest agricultural areas in the world, but also some of the most beautiful coastline, the Big Sur coastline, in my new Assembly District. I've been proud to represent my Assembly District over the last 2 years, especially as a child and grandchild as migrant farm workers. My grandparents first came to California to work in the Salinas Valley, and particularly in Soledad, and from there they would migrate to work in the orchards in Gilroy, and then to the vineyards in Fresno, in Del Rey, California. But over the last 2 years, I've been proud to take leadership role in the California State Legislature as the Vice Chair of the Assembly Local Government Committee, and currently I serve as the Chair of the Environmental Safety and Toxic Materials Committee, which has jurisdiction over issues such as pesticides, water quality, air quality, and environmental safety. I'm also very proud that my parents came, and you never forget your roots, your farm worker roots. It was because of their sacrifice working out in agriculture that I was able to have better opportunities. I was able to go and graduate from UC Berkeley, go to law school and earn my law degree, and then earn my master's in educational policy from Harvard. And after finishing all that, I made a decision to come back home and serve my local community. Before coming to the legislature, I worked as a staff attorney for the Monterey County Superior Court, and also served in leadership roles on the Watsonville City Council, which is my hometown, and also served as the mayor of the city of Watsonville. And then I was elected in 2010 to represent the 28th Assembly District. And it's been a very exciting and important job for me. It's been a lot of hard work because we are living through one of the worst difficult times in California's economy. But it's certainly a big responsibility to represent the thousands of constituents in my district, and I hope I could continue to serving you for another 2 years in Sacramento. Agriculture is such a critical part of our local economy here in the Monterey Bay region that it's so important that legislators continue to support our local farmers. And our story here in the Salinas Valley, in the Pajaro Valley, is that agriculture has been a gateway for so many different people. Today, it's a lot of Latino farm workers and ranchers, but in the past, it's been a lot of different other groups. At one point, it was Chinese farmers and farm workers. It was Japanese, Filipino, Croatian, Italian, Irish, Swiss. People of all different backgrounds came, and agriculture was the gateway for a lot of our different families. But from being farm workers, many have become now the farmers, and they also need our support. And it's really a good thing to see that in the strawberry industry, I think it's almost 70%, if not more, of the growers are now Latino. And that's really a good sign that we could not only be the people who toil out in the field and do that hard work, but also the people who manage and supervise and create the jobs for thousands of families here on the Central Coast. So that's one thing I'm very proud of. But as a legislator, it's important to continue to support our farms, make sure that they're able to stay competitive here in California, and continue to create these great jobs and continue to help California's ailing economy during this very difficult time. And some of the ways that we could help is certainly helping farms deal with regulations, making sure we're not approving regulations that could really put farms out of business. Most recently, I took leadership along with my good friend Congressman Sanfar when it came to the ag waiver regulations. These were regulations that the local water board was trying to approve. They really risked putting many of our small farms completely out of business and costing hundreds of jobs here on the Central Coast. I stood up with farmers, supported their plan that would help deal with water runoff in a way that incentivizes farmers, allows them to take leadership in those roles, but not penalize them with heavy fines and perhaps having them lose their businesses here, because we know that's going to cost jobs, and that only hurts thousands of more families here that need those jobs to provide for their families. So that was one key leadership role that I took this past year, but there's many more examples of how we could support our local farms and business. There's a lot of competition from produce coming from outside of California, outside of the United States. We got to help our farmers keep that competitive edge as well. One additional thing that we could do to keep jobs here in California is support those economic development programs. These are programs created by state and local government that help keep jobs here locally at home. One of those critical programs is our Enterprise Zone program that we have in the Salinas Valley. We had one recently expire in Watsonville. But these are tax credit programs that help businesses, that give them a tax credit for hiring employees, for also for their purchasing of their machinery, that help keep jobs here on the Central Coast. This program was created because communities like the Salinas Valley or the Pajaro Valley have historically had a hard time attracting new employers to come and set up their businesses in our areas. These are areas with high unemployment, high poverty rates, sometimes high crime rates. So these are the areas that need the jobs the most. And so the enterprise program was created to help our communities to attract those employers, saying that if you come and set up your business here locally, you get a tax credit. You can be able to grow and expand your business and create many more jobs here in these areas that need it the most. I've been a great champion. I took leadership role in Sacramento. I'm going to continue to do that next year. But those are the types of programs that help business, that help the communities that have struggled for many, many years, if not decades, to lower their unemployment rate. And in the end, that only helps our local economy, because when people have money, they're able to pay their bills, they're able to put food on the table and provide for their families. And that, above anything else, is what our local businesses and our local families have been asking from us in Sacramento. Well, as a college graduate, I know the critical importance of obtaining a good education. Education is a gateway to many better opportunities. Education also means good jobs in the end. And I think we have that responsibility as legislators to make sure we're making education affordable, that we're also providing the highest quality of education. But there's much work that we need to do in this area in California. Our kids are having a harder time just having some of the basic necessities in their classroom. Sometimes they're overcrowded. Sometimes they have outdated textbooks. We have an obligation to make sure that our schools are properly funded. One of the things that I took a leadership role, along with many of my other colleagues, is passing and supporting a piece of legislation called the Middle Class Scholarship. This is a program that would have lowered college tuition rates by 2/3, because college tuition right now is at an all-time high. It's unaffordable for some of the most needy families throughout California. And we have an obligation to try to do everything possible to lower that. Through that Middle Class Scholarship, working families, for example, those families that earn $150,000 or less would qualify for a scholarship at a UC, for example, UC Santa Cruz or UC Berkeley, of $8,000 a year over 4 years. That's a $32,000 drop in college tuition. If they're going to CSU Monterey Bay or San Jose State, it's $4,000 a year. Over 4 years, that's $16,000 savings. And that's one practical solution that we should support. Last legislative session, we were only short one vote by getting that bill to the governor's desk. But certainly I'm going to continue to fight for that next year. But in addition to try to lower high college tuition rates, we also have an obligation to properly fund our K through 12 schools, so that our kids, we're providing them good early childhood education, especially during those first critical years, because that's when kids start forming their success rate. That's when, if they get the good skills in kindergarten and first through third grades, they're going to be more successful in all those subsequent grades. And we know we have a big issue of having a high school dropout rate here in California. If we focus on those early years, we can really make a big dent in terms of increasing our high school graduation rates, and also making sure our students are more successful and prepared for jobs in the 21st century. Well, for many years, I've been a big champion to supporting the legalization program, not only in California, but throughout the country. And that's really an issue that has to be dealt with at the federal level, because it's federal law that has jurisdiction over immigration. But nonetheless, it doesn't mean that we as state legislators can't be using our positions to push Congress to pass comprehensive immigration reform. That's a win-win, not only for our employers and our agricultural industry, but it's also a big win for the farm workers, the workers, and all of their families as well, that have been asking for this for decades now, but we haven't been able to build up the consensus and support to approve this in Washington, D.C. But at the local level, we also have to think outside the box. What can we as state legislators do to help improve the lives of the people who do the work that many other people don't want to do out in our local fields? One of those is, for example, approving driver's licenses so that local workers could drive to and from work without fear that the cars are going to get impounded, or that they might be wrapped up or taken in for not having a proper driver's license. That's something that would benefit thousands of families here on the Central Coast. Last year, the governor signed a bill that I co-authored with Assemblymember Gil Cedillo to provide driver's license for those young people who qualify for deferred action. But there's still a big question about what about the thousands of other people, the other adults, who would really benefit from having a driver's license. That's a fight that we're going to continue next year. This past year, I also co-authored legislation with Assemblymember Manuel Perez looking at how we, under California law, might be able to pass and approve a work permit process where we could give workers in agriculture, in the service industry, work permits to lawfully work here in the state of California and not be subject to deportation policies. That would also have a big benefit for employers and for workers alike, and that's why these bills have had bipartisan support. And also support from the business industry and also the employees as well. But we need more of that type of consensus building, approving policies that have build up support from all sides. That's what I intend to do this next year. But certainly E-Verify would have a devastating impact on the agricultural industry here in our area, because it would harshly penalize employers for hiring the workers that are able and willing to do the work that many other folks don't want to do. It is hard work, but it's work that deserves dignity, it deserves all the respect, and it's very highly skilled labor. Anyone who's ever worked in the field in the past will tell you that it's very difficult work and it's very skilled. And that's why I always have to take my hats off to not only our farmers, but also to those thousands of farm workers who really feed our nation and put the food on the tables of millions of families all over the United States. I've had the privilege to tour many of our local farms, our local wineries, our local packing sheds here on the Central Coast, and it's really amazing to see the technology and the advancement in agriculture. But I want to be committed to continue to supporting both our local businesses and our farmers, as well as our farm workers, so that we could continue to thrive and continue to build up California's agricultural economy, and so that it could continue for many more generations here in our Golden State.